Welcome back to the Great Connect podcast. On this week's episode, I am thrilled to expand what holistic wellness means for each of us. As we know, being holistically minded means that we are thinking about not just ourselves, but our community and what is more important in our communities than our pets. They contribute to our lives every single day. And as somebody who is holistically minded, I know how important it is for me to also apply all of that knowledge and desire to one of my favorite furry animals on the planet, my pet. And so today I introduce you to Dr. Jeff Feinman of Holistic Actions. He's here to share with us knowledge around how we can be empowered as pet parents, just as we empower ourselves around our own health. And the best part about this episode, it's simple. It all comes down to love. And I know you have a deep love for your pet, just like I have for mine. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi, Jeff. Welcome to the Great Connect. I'm so excited to be chatting with you today.
Hello, Carrie, and I'm thrilled to be playing as well. So thank you for inviting me.
Oh my goodness. This, as I was sharing with you before our call, is a topic that is of heightened interest for me in particular right now, as I am a new pet parent. And even though I've been moving through the holistic space for quite some time now and feel pretty comfortable in my human body knowledge, opening up the can of worms of pets has really set me on to, okay, there's more to learn, more to explore, which is why I'm so thrilled to be chatting with you today.
And we are going to dive in and reshape some mindsets.
Yes. I am excited for others that are either new pet parents or considering a pet, or just like, what do you mean I need to think about pet health? Let's help them kind of see what the opportunity is. So I'd love to hear, how did you have a new book that is coming out, and it's The Path to Pet Wellness, but what's been your path to get you here?
Well, my path, oh my goodness. Yeah. My path started 50 years ago, 1975, when I started having weird and very scary symptoms. My mom got me to the hospital, but nobody could diagnose anything. And actually, I didn't get a diagnosis until 2010. So that's 35 years later. And during that entire time, I was dealing with my own body's manifestations of whatever was going on inside. And at the same time, I learned more about how the body works. And when I got my diagnosis, I had learned so much more than I learned, early on in vet school and whatnot, that, we started applying it to animals. And that's why now we have 15 years of experience doing what we're going to talk about.
Wow, I love that. It's so fascinating to me to think about the intersection of human health and pet health and how they're so influential to each other. And to start us off on like first steps first, if you're just thinking about how to consider your pet's health, what's the number one difference between humans and animals that we need to consider?
Oh my goodness. On the bigger picture level,
Yeah.
minimal. People are animals.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's more of a difference with trees, but we're still using the same kind of biological paradigm of balance.
Yeah.
Every animal of nature are working to stay in balance, whatever that looks like for the species.
Yeah.
So to answer your question,
Yeah.
I think the very beginning, the very first question is, am I looking at it the way I've always looked at it, or am I thinking different and looking at it the way we've looked at it for thousands of years? where we're all connected, via energetic spirit, and we'll talk about mitochondria and energy and all that in a few minutes. But that's where I would start, because that kind of reframe changes all the other questions that you ask. Or it changes the answers, but it will change the question as well. It reframes the questions.
Yeah, I think it does. It does. It reframes, I think, how so many people have considered pets in the past. And as we start to see them continue to be more and more of our family, noticing their health and how they're doing and having to manage that, it seems that our mindset shift is probably the first thing to start for us of, am I considering their health? And every step of the way, not just when a problem arises.
Exactly. And being proactive, preventive is a huge part of being a pet parent or human child parent.
Yes.
You're not waiting until problems develop to, investigate good food or good lifestyle or all things you probably had to learn about a year ago when you adopted your dog.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So let's do a quick definition for people that may even be new to the holistic health space, but I'm curious to hear it from you. How would you define holistic pet care?
As I would for human care, and it would depend on, I assume you're asking about holistic, HOLISTIC, the way we, conventional can be looked at as what's called reductionistic or mechanistic, which means it breaks down things into real small parts. So you've got in vet med, you've got heart doctors and brain doctors and doctors for all parts of the body, just like we do in people. That's what we learn in vet school. And then there's a holistic paradigm where we look at the whole, how everything is connected and how it works. Our bodies work as a system, and that system exists in an environment that's also a system. So it's all about actually sustainability, energetic sustainability and conservation of energy.
Mm-hmm. I love that. It's important to me that you articulate that too, that we have built up our pet healthcare system similar to how we have managed human healthcare systems as of late. Again, it's always fun to me to think about it as modern, and yet it's only a blip of time compared to the eons that we've been managing our own health. But in that time, we've also translated that into our pets. And seemingly there's a need to rethink that reductionist view and step back into the whole and into the systems. Would you agree that we kind of started with the humans and then we applied it to our pets?
I would fully agree. And a direct tie-in is the Institute of Systems Biology, ISB, which is a human organization started by an eminent immunologist that I actually studied when I was in medical school for a little while. But he teaches something called scientific wellness. Scientific wellness is the epitome of systems biology and the connection of everything. So granted, he looks at it from a body perspective, but we can look at it as a whole world universe perspective.
I mean, yes, I love how you said that before, right? It's systems within systems within systems, or holes within holes within holes. And how do we start to allow for the wholeness to exist within other holes? And that's certainly a level of consciousness that I don't know that we've, well, we're in it now. It's here.
We are, and it's growing. I mean, it's around us more and more every day. It's amazing. And until just this moment, I did not realize that as you know, I spell holistic with a W, which is what we're going to get to next. And was in the real whole, but I never thought of it in the context of there are so many holes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun little word to play with, right? We spell it in a couple of different ways. It's converse in some ways. It's kind of an interesting word to play with.
And why do I spell with the W is because we can be in the holistic, a lot of us, majority of us in the holistic world are in the, especially new grads, are in the holistic world, and they offer acupuncture and they offer herbs and they offer, alternatives. But they still have not done what I recommended to you as a thing to do when you first get a pet, and that is have not shifted their mindset where what we learned in vet school wasn't all there was to know. Sure, there's going to be research and we're going to get new drugs and new procedures, but the paradigm that we use to understand our animals is the physiologic one, not the energetic one that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because life is all about energy.
Yeah.
Your car can be tuned up out the wazoo and be running really well, just like a healthy body. But when you run out of gas, you're not going anywhere.
Right. Absolutely. Right. And if the gas lines are clogged, it doesn't run as smoothly, right? It's about how do you take care of the lines and the things you can't see, not just filling the gas tank too. Yeah, okay. So take me further into whole. Like what's I could see you were ready to jump in. Let's jump in.
It was because again, I'm just realizing that the embodiment, really the center of the whole is love. Because love embodies the energy, the spirit, the way to help our animals more than any other power in that I've ever seen and that may exist.
Yeah.
The real trick is because, and believe me, I've gotten this many times from pet parents, we all love our pets, but they still get sick. But what we need to learn is that love can now be put into action. So it's actually love in action that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And the way that you can start to do that is by shifting your mindset to see that interconnection, that energetic connection between us all, between animals, people, and the world.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting to me as I had pets growing up, right? But it's a different experience as an adult. And many times over the last year, I've witnessed him just be there, be joy, and be love. And me then immediately want to give him love in return, right? He just rolls over, his belly is like, pet me. And it's like, it's the definition of reciprocity or reciprocal love, right? And all he has to do is be. And I personally have used that for myself and my own mindset and my own way of being in the world of, wow, I can just be love and be loved. And that feels challenging as a human to like really allow myself to believe that as truth. And yet I'm sitting here experiencing it with my pet. Would you say that in your experience working with families and pets in this way, that the pets are actually an access point for humans to that?
You're reading my mind. I mean, yes, the animals are doorways, are gateways, are portals into presence. And yes, that is exactly why we're doing what we're doing, because the way to be present with them is also the way to help them heal, and it will incidentally help us heal as you described, by connecting with your pet.
Yeah.
There we just summed up the book, Holistic Actions, Everything, the paradigm in 1 and 2 sentences. So please cut that part out.
We need more people to dig in. I am sure that that is not just a summary that is worth just that. It is worth stepping into that whole holistic actions experience and really diving into it, because I know I am, and I know I want to go further, not just get the taste of the tip of it. So let's talk about how we show and express love to our animals. Certainly, there's the physical, the petting, the presence. I'd love to talk about the whole, right? Because we are caring for them, we are caregivers for them, and that requires a variety of different things. That requires nourishment, that requires exercise, that also requires presence and love, that requires rest. So what are the ways that we can step into showing our pet love in each of those and more? I'd love for you to start kind of moving us through how do we reframe our everyday mundane thoughts into recentering them around the love of our pet.
As a sciencey kind of person, I'd say the first step is to know it's going to make a big difference. Knowing that something works makes you trust it and use it, and makes the outcomes better. That's quantum physics, and that's So it starts with the word that you said twice in those sentences, and that's presence. Because all the things that we're going to talk about will take away and diminish the amount of energetic love between you and your pet. And that, I mean, what's a great example there is one of the big paradigms, one of the big actions that we teach in the paradigm is called Therapeutic Sniff Walk. We just go out for a walk with our dog, for example. We're on the phone the whole time. The effect's not going to be the same as, wow, what's that over there? Or, wow, look at that. Because dogs are going to do that all the time. And we need to be doing that with them. And that action alone is going to help us align with our dogs. We're going to start to develop a different relationship. And the next thing I'd say is gazing. Gazing is, an action that we know works well in people as far as, fostering and sharing love.
Yeah.
Dogs love hearing you call them in, look at them, and tell them out loud that you love them.
Yeah. They respond. You can see the response from them. If you start to, and I think you're right that presence is so important, because only if you tune in to see the response do you know that the response is happening.
That's a really, 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 really important point. And that is part of why we journal. Why one of the things that I would recommend for you, if you haven't started already as a pet parent, is starting a journal. Writing down things like Beam, and we'll talk about Beam, and writing down diet, and I just gave one of my cats a homeopathic medicine dose, and I had to write it down, and also forget that kind of thing.
Oh, I that idea would never have crossed my mind. Well, maybe someday, but I'm still in the, okay, how do I'm a bit of a recovering perfectionist and reclaiming perfectionist. Okay.
You can get Dr. Christine's book, or you can come to us in Holistic Actions and download the book for free. But the book is also on Amazon.
Amazing.
A journal is, journals, just blank pages, or Evernote, or whatever.
Yeah. It's just a practice. Candidly, I'm not a huge journaler. I fits and spurts of journaling for me. So that's probably why for me personally, it isn't an initial thought, but it's a really beautiful way to think about those connections, especially as you're building a relationship with your animal, if they're new in your family too, or you're building a new relationship with your animal. I love that.
Exactly, because the journal is a great way to learn their likes and dislikes, what they love, because the happiness protocol is actually a huge action for what we're gonna talk about, because it's a manifestation of love, happiness, joy, hope. So writing down what they love to do, really, maybe a special toy, maybe a special way that you play fetch. Maybe a special with cats, especially a special way to pet them. Don't ever pet them on their belly, or
Yeah.
some cats love being pet on their belly.
Yeah.
One of my cats loves it.
Yeah. Yeah. They are really unique individuals, and they have their own personalities, preferences, and a journal is a really accessible way to start to tune into that and bring that presence to each of the actions. I love that. Okay, so take me into it. Which should we do next? Should we talk about happiness protocol? Should we talk about BEAM? Where do you want to go?
Well, why don't we go back to where you were a year ago, and that is, what food should I feed?
Yes.
Now, why would I, who says the physical paradigm is not the most important, why would I focus on that? Because the energetic spirit of love is also cellular energy and vitality that is being expressed in food. And there is a level hierarchy of foods that have various amounts of, we know them as processed foods or ultra processed foods, to all dry foods, and all canned foods are ultra processed foods.
Yes. Yes.
And we know that health conditions in people get worse the more processed food we eat.
Right. I just had a moment of like, wow, we process food so much, we had to create a new label for ultra processed foods. Sorry, just one of those moments where you hear something and you're like, it, and then also it just rings a new tune of, oh my gosh, how far down that hole did we have to go? And we're working our way back out, right? So, okay, so it is on every shelf. So how do I even start to navigate? I don't want to give processed foods to my dog, and yet I don't know where to begin. What mindset do I need to take to allow myself a little bit of grace as I'm navigating the modern world that's out there, and at the same time start to shift into that love-oriented, presence-oriented protocol with my dog?
I think that, whether you ask about diet or any medical condition, I'm going to answer by saying it depends on the individual. It depends on the context of what's going on. So my answer about food and diet specifically would be different for, say, a puppy or a lactating bitch or a sick animal, but in general, freshness, as much vitality or energy as possible, which we find in fresh and even raw foods. Variety. Huge variety is hugely important, and it's the one thing that our animals are not getting, and yet that variety and that love of food is why so many animals exist.
Yeah.
But they're being forced to eat, saying, well, my dog likes that dry food. Well, do you think he'd like it as much as a bone?
Yeah.
I don't know too many dogs. I mean, there are dogs that you give them a piece of broccoli and a piece of meat, they'll take the broccoli.
Yeah.
And those dogs maybe should be vegans or vegetarians, but I'm a big believer that we align, we feel best, we do best, we function the best when we're aligned with our likes and dislikes. And the happiness protocol is, in essence, what you like the most.
Yeah.
So going back to your new dog owner, can I put you on?
Absolutely, go for it. Yeah.
You know a lot. In the human world.
In the human world.
Choose a ultra processed food for your new dog. Probably 80 to 90% people do.
Yeah. This has actually been a huge topic of conversation in my home because uh, that is what came home from. He's an adopted dog, and so he is a super mutt. We call him our parts bin dog. He's primarily working dogs, every shepherd, cattle dog, collie, etc. So lots of energy. But he has English bulldog in him, so his legs are short. So he's a cute looking little guy. But he came home with what is on the market a good dog food, a better premium processed dog food. And the vet, said, "Oh, that's great dog food." Okay, great. I start asking questions immediately. But also in my home, my husband makes all of our food, and he's an amazing chef, and we do a lot from scratch and continue to move as much as we can in that direction. And I could sense his overwhelm of having to make another meal for another mouth. And so we've been working through, okay, how do we move in this direction? Cost consideration. Like there's a lot of things in the algorithm to find the right fit. And so at the moment, we've been working on, he had some allergies, some skin stuff. So we're trying to figure out where does that come from, especially when he's young and you don't know if it's seasonal, if it's food, all these different things. So that's why I'm reveling in the journal. I'm like, oh, that would have been so brilliant to do. And so now I'm doing what feels very natural to me, which is any of the fruits and vegetables that we have in the house. They are in his meals. He still does get some processed food, but we're doing, scraps of the meat. We're doing vegetables. He loves vegetables. I'm currently fermenting sauerkraut for him, he loves my bread, which is sourdough fermented bread, which is like, should he? But that dog, every time somebody cuts a piece from the loaf, he comes running over and is like, I need bread. And it comes back to the love thing for me, because that bread is made from pure love, because it is my sourdough starter. I make it from scratch every single week. My kids, same thing, love mom's bread, and even have gone to a friend's house who was my sourdough buddy and said, it's not as good as yours. And I was like, I bet that's because it's my love in the bread, my bread, and her love in her bread. So her son would probably flip it. And they were like, yeah, that makes sense. So that's putting me on the spot of, I'm trying to figure out, how do we do this financially, with love, and also time consuming, right? There's a lot of things. So I am all ears to learn and grow from this, but that's the reality for me.
And I appreciate that share a lot, because it gives a lot of context, which is, we need these days is more context, more of a holistic approach where you look at it in context. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
My wife is an amazing chef as well, and she's had to become a vegan, gluten-free cook because of me. And I was diagnosed with celiac. That was my second genetic disease in 1989. So I've been gluten-free when there was no such thing as a gluten-free company. So I learned to cook that way very, very fast. But so what I'm saying is, what she does is cook for us, like your husband does for you guys, and we just share.
Yeah.
She'll take leftovers and make biscuits for the dog, put them in the dehydrator. That's really just a shift.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the vet care thing.
Yeah.
We can really, actually feels better to do it a different way, but we have to shift.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so important. And I really want to appreciate that reflection, right? Because I often think about and support others in other ways of, you can't, because I've done it many a times. I've tried to jump off the deep end, right into the deep end, and change everything all at once. And inevitably I can't sustain that because it's just such a huge shift that you need to do micro shifts and just make putting the leftover vegetables in the dish with the dry food easy. And when that's easy, then I'll layer on the next thing. And when that's easy, I'll layer on the next thing, which is how I learned to bake bread, which was 2 years of getting to a place where now I do it and I don't even think about it. So thank you for that reflection. And you made me think of a question around, okay, but one of my questions as I build my knowledge base around what to put in the dish is we brine some of our meats and, put salt on the steak or whatever that is. And so my husband's concern has certainly been around the salt intake for the animals. So I'd love thoughts and reflections on how to share meals. And is it more in the preparatory state, the leftovers? How do we start to make micro shifts there?
It's whatever way works for you guys. What's the most vital way is the earlier the better. The less we prepare food, the more it's natural state and higher the vitality. But I would probably avoid anything that's heavily salted or there's nothing wrong with salt or garlic or spice in general for animals, but we're talking, think about cooked meats.
Mm-hmm.
Cooked meats can be dicey for some dogs, depending on their GI.
Okay.
You'll find if your dog gets diarrhea after cooked meat, that raw or rare actually does better, and that's because they're really not designed to handle the cooked animal fats. The higher the temp that it's cooked at, the more deleterious it is.
Yeah. It's so funny, the thing that I constantly remind myself of because of all the conditioning that's been out there around processed foods and et cetera is if my dog was just living outside, would they eat that? Yes, they would. So why am I second guessing it? Right. And he knows how to get it out of his system. I've been witness to that enough times now that he knows what to do. I can trust him and his body. And so I love that. I keep coming back to the journal. That's like the mind-blowing moment for me of like, right, I might not have journaled it, but I logged it in my head and now I know X, Y, or Z, right? And so we have a garden outside and there were tomatoes that bloomed really, really late. And so they ended up being fermented tomatoes and he ate them. And there was like great concern. Oh God, he can't eat that. And I'm like, no, I think he can. He did. He was fine. It's okay. But we have so much of that in us that be aware. So the journal just keeps coming back as a really easy next step of like, how do you gain that trust? You mentioned that in the very beginning, right? Of seeing the results and the outcomes and the positive reinforcement allow us to deepen our trust into our own intuition, our own, that our love for them and cutting up the vegetables, they feel that. Growing the vegetables and then putting them in the meal, like all those things are just layers and layers of love. Yeah.
For sure. And as you said, even just the preparation, I remember a story by a dear friend of mine. She was preparing meals for her children and they wouldn't eat anything but processed dry food at some stage, but she would keep a jar of L next to the food and put a little pinch of L in with the food, so she can imbue all the food with love.
Yeah. So okay, so I want to, this is another aspect of, we talked about diet and food a little bit, but let's talk about exercise and stimulation and that energy. How can we think about, instead of just go outside, what should we be considering when it comes to like the physical vitality of our dog and playing and exercise, and let's just go into that. Like, where do we go from there?
And the answer is the same as food one. It depends on the individual. I mean, let their bodies lead. That is actually the name of our webinar on Monday, is Let Animals Lead, from Kathleen Prasad. It is the Reiki called Let Animals Lead. So yeah, but I happen to, I'm a very, my genetic disease made me, unstable and walking and blah, blah, blah. Not a strong, vital person, but this dog is a big, strong dog that loves. I mean, actually, her one biggest joy is running and playing with other dogs. My main job in life is, setting up play dates and playing with Maya, who right now actually is at daycare. She's going to run and play for 5 hours, and it won't affect her at all. There's a bulldog that they go for a walk for 20 minutes and they're done for the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the exercise really looks like whatever your animal needs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we're talking about whether it's food, whether it's exercise, whether it's, pretty much anything. We're basing it on the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why scientific wellness, to bring it back to scientific wellness, scientific wellness is defined by 4 P's. Okay. The first P is personalized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. So we're doing personalized medicine.
Right. Yeah. My experience with my personal dog has been that he needs a lot of exercise, and I can see and I think it comes back to that presence, right, that we talked about before. Are you tuned in enough to know whether the dog is getting what it needs or it's not? And, we didn't go into this quite yet or before, but it came up for me already, is that energetic connection you have with your animal, that you're conversing with them and you're having this dialogue, and you can read their energy and how they're responding. I can read his facial expressions just like I can read a human, and I know he's not gotten enough, or he's being defiant, or whatever that happens to be. So that to me is, okay, maybe we didn't get enough exercise today. Today was a day where we missed the mark. How do we tune in and know tomorrow we gotta layer up?
And I think the very first thing is what you said. You've got to be aware enough to know that you want to ask that question.
Yeah.
Be connected enough with your animal, and to me, that's the difference between, the Hawaiian word kahu.
No.
Hawaiians and pretty much every indigenous nation, people see us all in what's called the kindred. We're all connected. A kahu is a guide, a guardian, a being. And we are either kahus and guardians or owners. And owners of property may or may not pay a lot of attention to what they own. And I'm afraid that's where we are now, because in vet school, there is no distinction. There are only pet owners.
Right. Do you see the language shift to pet parents being a shift in that?
Big time, even in vet schools. I think that you're seeing it shift a lot. We talked about reductionistic and mechanistic, and maybe what we're learning, but the good news is that there are a lot of open-minded specialist vets out there that see the bigger picture. They may not be able to operate and recommend to you what to do to stimulate that bigger picture.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story if we have time about that. But they know it's out there.
Yay.
They're scientists. I mean, by definition, a scientist is open-minded.
Yeah. Right. Right. And curious, right? Curious. Yes. I mean, I've had many of an encounter that you can feel that they want to explore with you because you're bringing something new to the table, even if their current box doesn't allow them to flex into that in the same ways they'd like to. But when you share, oh, it's really interesting, we just started doing this and it works, the acupuncture, the whatever it happens to be, it opens more of those doors. It truly like makes my heart happy when you say, even vet schools using the word pet parents instead of pet owners. Like those to me are huge. I know that they're small, but they're also huge in the larger whole, that we are making shifts, even if it hasn't manifested in every nook and cranny where I'd like it to quite yet, but it's getting there.
Yeah,
I
it's,
yeah,
and
go ahead.
it's my joy to be alive at this time in history, whether it's science, whether it is the awakening that we're talking about, whether it's, yeah. So, yeah, watching what's happening to my profession is just, well, it's not happening fast enough in my
Yeah,
mind.
I know.
It's phenomenal to wow. When I graduated, if I went into any of the vet hospitals that I worked at, none of them had a supplement on the shelf or an herb or omega, or now you pretty much can't get away from that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have to take that moment of reflection, right? To see really how far it has come, even though we want it faster, more, better. But it
And
is,
in order to do that, we need to think different, and that's the big linchpin, because that is kind of a shifting of everything we know in medicine and veterinary medicine. But the great news is, it doesn't matter to you. Holistic actions, pet parents have been doing it for a decade. I mean, it works. They do it. We have, one of the things we offer is a 15-minute call once a month. People are reframing their mindset all the time.
that to me is such a vital component of making these shifts, is to know you're not alone. You're not the only one, navigating. This person tells me I'm doing really good processed food to I want to get here, and this is a hard transition to make. To be able to do it in community and have that support, that to me is how we actually continue to make those shifts. And so powerful what you're doing by creating that community, that space, that holding 15 minutes for people. That's just freaking amazing is what I want to say. Bigger expletives for that, because it doesn't happen. And I think that considering that as part of the whole, that the mindset and the space holding and the shifting behavior is a really fundamental component of it. I love that. Thank you for your work.
Thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah.
I just want to see us get the word out to everyone in the world. They should at least know there's a different way to look at all the stuff that's out there, and it's overwhelming. There's so many inputs nowadays. But the beautiful thing is that kinship worldview that I mentioned before, that helps connect us in a way that the overwhelm goes away.
Yeah.
It actually goes away because you're able to put things into context a
Yeah.
lot better.
Yeah.
And the reason we're having it, and I know you didn't ask this question, I don't know what our time is, but the reason we may be having a crisis in the veterinary field, meaning that vets are dropping out and committing suicide, and we don't feel aligned with what we feel in our hearts, is what they're making us do in what Gabor Mate calls a cult of
Yeah.
medicine. So that when you graduate from medical school, you do it the way they tell you to do it, and that is pretty much what we learn in vet school, because it works.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. The information is hugely valuable, but it's this much of the whole.
Yeah. Yeah. I I usually work really, sometimes I have to take a moment as a person on the receiving end of the care systems to remind myself that I might be frustrated with what I'm being told in this office and that I can't get them to zoom out. And yeah, and also, what about how am I feeding? Like, but could the food be a thing? Different questions like that feel like basic. I should be able to ask this question, and yet I'm met with resistance. And I have built into my practice taking a breath and reminding myself that this person started this journey because they loved animals or wanted to help people. And the system itself may not enable them to express that the way that they so desire. So I might be reading their frustration as well. And so it's okay for me to be frustrated, just reminding myself that there are other resources out there, such as yours. It's such a gem to discover. There are more, of course, but it's a world that's very disconnected, and it's so wonderful to be able to bring yourself and your work to more people, because we are often in that one-to-one and we don't know how to find something other than the thing that's directly in front of us, and that can be very frustrating.
And that is the essence of disconnection, is we can get focused on what's in front of us instead of seeing what's all around us. But just the fact that we're surrounded by energy, and that right now, I'm moving, energetic frequencies through my body, which sounds woo-woo, but it's also something that Einstein and all quantum physicists knows, that every molecule around us is more energy and more space than what's in front of you. So yeah, maybe rather than focus your eyes, let them go, widen your focus.
Yeah.
I took a course once where she had us just expand, and I actually forgot until just now this exercise, because it's a great way to widen your focus. And what I'm doing is seeing if I can still see both my fingers. Oh, and right about there. Okay.
Wow. That's good too. I'm impressed. Like, I haven't done that in a really long time either.
But who does that? Kids, right?
Yeah. I know.
That's where we need to go back to, and that is playing more and having fun and laughing, and that's why there's a worldwide community of us that gather at now it's at 10 o'clock Eastern to do laughter yoga around the world, where we just laugh and dance and sing and have fun for a half hour.
Yes, the laughter. Oh my gosh, yes, that's a whole nother episode in and of itself, because yes, it's so true. I just saw something really beautiful that some kindergartners in California set up a pep talk line. You can call the number and they will laugh for you.
Oh.
Or they pre-recorded some like messages if you need a pep talk, and it's just like, that's that pure essence of how can we help people? We could just tell them amazing things. You're amazing. And I'm like, I'm gonna ugly cry on this camera if I keep going this direction, because that's accessible in our pets too. And if we are fortunate enough to have them in our homes with us, how can we tune into that? And yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. We have so many things we didn't cover and also so many things I want to cover. Here's what I'd love for us to start to wrap this conversation, because I think I'm holding on a whole bunch of things I want to do in a part 2 with you, because I've loved this so much, and there's so many places to dig in and explore. But if there's one, we had a whole beautiful conversation. If you could synthesize for people one thing they could do today to start caring better for their pet, what would you say?
Yeah, it would be to follow the beam, follow this palette of beam, follow quality of life, and vitality is the most important thing as reflected by behavior, energy, appetite, and mood. So focus on quality of life and don't focus on individual symptoms. If I had started focusing on my symptoms in 1975, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But yeah, and with animals as well.
Yeah.
Functional symptoms are the body's way of doing the best it can do.
Yeah.
And this is part of our part two is we need that kind of appreciation for our own bodies.
Yes.
By our own bodies, I mean their bodies as well. You know,
Yeah.
all body,
All bodies.
whole cells.
Yes. 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 I have a whole list of things for our part two where we can start to talk about that, because I think that's a beautiful entrance into so much for so many people. And I'm really enjoying starting this conversation here and all the different ways that we talked through this. And that's a great way to summarize, how to just start to tune in, how to bring that awareness, and really where to focus and not focus at the same time. It feels like that presence. We use that word so many times, and that's just the word that keeps ringing in my ears is practicing presence, just practicing presence for ourselves, for every animal, for the earth, for it all.
And I'm going to add one more P if I may, and that is practicing presence patiently.
Yeah. Expand on that for me, if you would.
I'll give you an example, a real fast example. I called Maya my new dog, who we didn't talk about Maya, but she's a bit of a emotional mess because of her background. She was a rescue that was, well, anyway. Sometimes I'll call her. She didn't do stairs at all when she was a baby, but now stairs are fine. But now I'll call her sometimes. I'd like her to come when I call right away, but I'll sometimes just have to stand there at the bottom of the stairs for a minute. She'll look around. She's also a hound mix, and she gets easily distracted. And eventually she comes down. By my being patiently present, it really helps us bond closer and love more. Right now, her mom says to me every day, this dog loves you much more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's mutual.
Yeah. 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 I love that. That's really beautiful. And if I could layer on one tiny piece to that, which is patiently for ourselves too, because I think sometimes we apply pressure on ourselves to create change, to do these things. So to practice our presence and know that we might not get it perfect every day. So if I need to wait at the bottom of the stairs, today I might not have that patience in me. And so have patience with myself that getting to a place of presence with my animal won't be an overnight shift either. And I think that moves mountains, like that together, that moves mountains for sure.
It does. I could not agree more. And what I just said, I realized that could be seen by dog training advocates as badly trained dogs. So I'm going to reframe it as I'm taking a therapeutic sniff walk with my dog.
Yeah.
And my dog wants to stop and sniff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm on my walk and I want to get my exercise. So I'm going to impatiently drag my dog along.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Patiently being present with the dog. And if I'm worried about my exercise, I'll do my lat pull downs or whatever when I'm out there standing around.
Yeah, I can jog in place. I could do other things while it's sniffing, right?
I walked Maya on a 30-foot line. So like when we get to where it's safe, she just goes exploring.
Yeah.
Because being a hound, if she gets on a scent, she's gone.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, and that's tuning in and knowing what she needs and the type of movement she needs to feel good in her body, and yours is different. And so how do you work together collaboratively to make it work for both of you? Yeah. Yeah.
And that is the final P. Remember, we started with scientific wellness. We started with personalized. The final P is participatory. How do you collaborate with your doctor or your animals?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Because we know that the outcomes of treatments, at least, are better when there's participatory care. That is actually well researched, documented. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And, it still comes back to that same presence. And this will be in our part 2, I imagine, but, our nervous systems work together and co-regulate in that way. And so if your dog's acting erratic, maybe we should take a second to look at ourselves. Am I erratic and therefore they're responding, or how is that happening for us? And so that participation between both of us, that feels really important to tune into too. I love that. Look at that. We just checked. We went through the 4 Ps without even trying.
Well, we did the first and the last. Yeah, we didn't really do them all, actually. Do you know what the 4 Ps are?
No, I'm I think I could probably piece it together, but why didn't you tell me?
Well, you can have to help me here. It's personalized, proactive, predictive,
There you
and participatory.
Participatory. So let's quickly, before we wrap, because I want to make sure, I don't know how deep we went into predictive. Let's just, yeah.
Well, we thought we had the code cracked when it came to the genetic code. We were sure that was going to predict future chance of disease and blah, blah, blah. We used to actually call it personalized medicine, but then when they realized medicine that the genes weren't the answer, thank goodness for me, or else we wouldn't again be here. But when they realized that, they changed it. They shifted from personalized to precision. So what genetics allows, especially oncologists, to do is precisely target a gene that's abnormal, or a gene in a tumor. So yeah, that is predicting the chance of disease, but unfortunately, so that's why Predictive went away. But unfortunately for them, you can't predict what's going to happen unless you're able to understand susceptibility. Because energetic susceptibility is what determines the chance of getting sick.
Right.
Period.
Right.
We can all modify it, because there are only 2 little factors related to getting sick, and one is, are you exposed to a germ fruit? We'll use the kennel cough as an example. Why did 2 dogs go into a kennel? Both are exposed to kennel cough. They both got the kennel cough shot. One gets sick, one doesn't. Why? Why is because the one that doesn't is less susceptible or more resilient. Why is he more resilient? Because he eats better food, because he gets better and different exercise that he needs, because his mom is a conscious pet parent, loves him up and knows how to make him happy.
Mm-hmm. 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 I remember studying the turning the gene on and turning the gene off, and just the concept that just because it's there doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's the environment that's then determining whether it gets activated or not activated. And that's stepping into a whole new realm of thinking about how you work with your body.
Oh, well, just so.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Did I do a perfect?
Sorry that I'm doing this, but new paradigm that replaces the genome is called the exposome. The exposome is the molecular biology. This is the molecular biology text that describes the way the body reacts at a molecular level, and this applies to dogs and cats and all living beings. How it reacts to toxins and germs and thoughts and lifestyle, and So they're actually defining this woo term susceptibility as a hard definition in exposomics.
Cool. Okay, I have another book for my bookshelf. I look forward to that.
Yeah, that's not that's a grad student immunology book. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is really, really well written. And if you want to spend the money to get it, yeah, it's worthwhile. Dr. Miller is a great writer. I had the honor of being with him. He's at Columbia University, and they run an annual Exposome boot camp where all the Exposome scientists from around the world come and gather, and he runs it. And I had the honor of attending during the pandemic for a couple of years.
Very cool. Very cool. Oh, love it. Well, we will put as much as we can into the description of this recording because there were so many good resources and things. And of course, all of your work at Holistic Actions and your new book coming out. So many good things for the audience to listen to delve deeper into, and to be able to find you and take it and even another step further as they become more conscious pet parents. I love that. Any last thoughts or words you have before we sign off?
I'm not sure why this popped into my head, but we are what we think, not we are what we eat. But, it's really, can we think about things in a way that it's regrowth potential, where what is possible, instead of our fixed mindsets of, limited by a diagnosis or disease, so there's always more. I guess the take home is that where there's life, where there's energy, there's always hope for healing.
Gorgeous.
As long as you're on the right path.
Yes. Let's do the thing.
By that, I mean the path to quality of life.
Yes.
The path to happiness, the path to love.
Yes. So new book, Holistic Actions as well. What else? Where else can people engage with you?
The very best place, and I hope that you put this link in your notes, is out our new free masterclass. So starting on January 17th, a bunch of people from around the world are going to be diving deeper into different parts of the book. So like, for example, January 17th, our topic is love, medicine, miracles, and mitochondria. So love, medicine, miracles, in case it may have been before your time, but Dr. Bernie Siegel wrote a book in the 80s called Love, Medicine, Miracle, where he outlined this paradigm for people. And Bernie is going to be sharing his stories, and he has a lot of them. For animals, well, they were, they called their household a zoo back when his kids were growing up. Bernie, Ellie Lax from Gentle Barn, where they focus on the love paradigm. Rick Palmquist, so a veterinary scientist, the head of the AGMA in Emeritus. So yeah, we're gonna have a whole series of them. So I'd love you to share the free sign up for that.
Yes, we will absolutely put that link in the description so that everybody can find it and share it with our audiences, so that they can. That sounds like an amazing experience. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Everything. Oh my gosh.
Yes, amazing. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Love you. Bye. Thanks.